Islam, and welcome to Moore's Heritage and History School. This is your host, Anita Ill, along with my co-host, Mizraim Aleph Ill.
Islam, peace and love. Morris, peace and love. Anna E., how are you this night, shall I say? Trust all is well.
Great.
Okay,
Yes, it
good.
is. Yes, it is.
Good,
and
good.
Rosmar is A.
Islam, peace and love to all.
Peace and love.
And Kucho Adwa L.
I don't know if he contacted you, but he just contacted me. I don't think he's going to be on the show tonight, on the broadcast tonight. Oh, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, I bet. Okay, cool.
I'm here.
I got you. All right, cool. All right, I was wondering because I'm like, hold on, he sent the question for us to go in on. I thought you wasn't.
No. It was just because I didn't get to it at class. Class ran up to about 9:20 today. So I was like, you know what? Before I get locked out, let me just send the question.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very, very relevant to the topic. Pardon me, Anna E. Go ahead and the introduction, but I guess it's all in the air. It's all in your mind, like my mother was saying last week. Islam.
Straight. Islam.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's do our usual introductions. Islam to all our internet listeners. The chat room will be open momentarily. I'm just having a little bit of a challenge with it right now, but it will be open momentarily. Big shout out to our family listening over in Great Britain, family over in Japan, South Africa, the Netherlands. Islam, Brother Al-Basset. Islam to you. Peace and love, and big shout out to our family listening over there in Philippines. The Philippines, as well as our family here on the American soil. Islam to the family listening over in Mexico, Venezuela, Brazil, Cuba, and family we have yet to connect with. Islam and peace and love for joining us. And, of course, got to send a big, big shout-out to our family listening via the telephone. Thank you for calling in each week, filling up the telephone lines before the show even starts. Islam. All right, so let's see. Each week we make a public announcement of Moors who have been kidnapped and are currently being held hostage. These are Moors who were kidnapped literally off the street by employees of various corporations. Are you there? All right. By various corporations. What?
No, I just was saying, I can still hear you when you
All right. These are Moors who have been kidnapped by employees of various corporations. They go by the name of county, city, town, township, borough. We, the Aboriginal Indigenous people of this land, have been mentally conditioned to believe they are government. They are not. These employees are kidnapping the people and holding them prisoners for income. And what we do is we make a weekly public announcement of those Moors who are currently being held against their will and for income. If we have the county that is involved in the actual kidnapping, we make mention of that. If we do not, then we just mention the union state that they are in purview to, because all union states are bound and obligated to protect the people from foreign and domestic invasion. So we start off with our sister Aqsa Bay, kidnapped through a joint venture between Memphis and Shelby Corporation, Daoud Ill. Kidnapped under the purview of Arkansas, Amir, Muslimin, Ill, and Kukura Kush Bay, under the purview of Missouri, Astar, Fatah, Amin Bay, under the purview of Ohio, Jeremy Taylor ill, Terry Thorne Bay, Jamie Kyle Brooks Bay, Joseph Kanaday ill, Kushamir Bunch ill, Emmanuel Billings Bay, Yasin Khalik Alamin ill, and Michael Curry Bay, all kidnapped under the purview of North Carolina. Noble Crisco ill, under the purview of New Jersey. And Brother Messiah Aziz ill and Crystal ill, kidnapped through a joint venture between Mercer, Freehold, and Trenton Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We're still waiting on word, waiting to hear if the baby of Patricia Bay has been liberated. Patricia was liberated and is home right now. So we're just waiting to hear on the baby. And the baby was kidnapped, as well as Malik Bay by Atlantic Corporation under the purview of New Jersey. We have Eldridge Teron Fisher ill and Martise Savion ill, both kidnapped under the purview of Indiana. Solomon Ill Bay and Mumi Abu Bay kidnapped under the purview of Texas. William Barrett ill, kidnapped under the purview of Virginia. Bomani and Bidwell ill, kidnapped by Chesapeake Corporation under the purview of Virginia. Ray Bay, kidnapped under the purview of West Virginia. Thomas Lee Bay, under the purview of California. Victor Eduardo Avaya Juarez ill, kidnapped by the Harlan Corporation under the purview of Georgia. And I believe that's it for now. If you have a family member or you know someone that you would like to be added to this list, please send their free national appellation along with the county, city, town, township, borough that has kidnapped them, or I should say the employee or working for the county, city, town, township, borough, corporation, along with the union state that is in purview to MHHS-Eyes Wide Open at gmail.com, and we will add them to the list. And I think that is it. All right, for our announcements, before we get started, we will physically be at the Moorish Heritage and History School tomorrow, the 30th of March, near Harlem Corporation at the National Theater. Let's see, doors open at 6, class begins at 7:30. And, of course, we will be broadcasting that class over the airwaves. So make sure and either listen or come and join us. But we will physically be there tomorrow, so we look forward to seeing everyone. All right, so with that, today's broadcast is an interesting one. It's entitled, Are You in Denial of Your Ancestry? And I thought that that was an appropriate title because a lot of times, you know, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, just so absolutely brilliant. And it's funny because, you know, he said that it would be like 100 years before we comprehend what he brought us. And, you know, here we are 100 years later, and we're still doing, you know, we still don't comprehend what he brought us. We do things that actually is evidence of denial of our ancestry and abandonment. All of these things happen because of the one thing we have a challenge doing, and that is studying. Study, study, study. It is the most important, one of the most important things the Prophet said, and he repeated it 3 times. And yet we seem to have a problem doing that. And we need to really beef up our study efforts because if we don't, we're going to fall into these different traps that are out there. And I will say that some of the traps, I believe, are innocent due to lack of study. Some of them may very well be intentional because, you know, I feel that we're on the cusp of a major transition. And so if you're not studying, you're liable to fall for anything. So, you know, we have to ask ourselves, what are we doing, why are we doing it, and have we studied it well? Because if you don't, you may be in denial of your ancestry, which may not be your intent. We are the lineal descendants of the Moors of Maghreb al-Aqsa, Morocco, the farthest west, today called America. All the Americas is the inheritance of the Aboriginal Indigenous People, Moors. As such, one can never use the policies and procedures of the United States of America, any union state, or any of its tribunals, and certainly no brand of Negro-colored Black African American when discussing issues relative to the lineal descendants and the inheritance. The use of modern policies and procedures under a foreign jurisdiction created by foreigners, usually relating to English law, is simply evidence, once again, of lack of study, which results in abandonment and a denial of your ancestry. You can never use a modern policy to express an ancient people. This is why Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, study, 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 and go back to the mindset of your foremothers and forefathers. If I can just get you to thinking, you'd free yourself. I like to always ad-lib and say, if I can just get you to thinking, you'd mess around and free yourself, as if by accident, because it is, I think that it's in your thinking. A lot of revelations that I have had is just in sitting and thinking. That's it. There's nothing, no great, nothing happened. No bolt of lightning came out of the sky and did nothing. I just quietly sat and thought about what I just read. And the thinking didn't happen in 5 minutes. It didn't happen in an hour. Sometimes it took the entire day to complete one thought because it was just so unveiling. If I can just get you to thinking, you'd mess around and free yourself. In conjunction with study, 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 and no one should be falling for anything that anybody puts out there at all. I don't care who it's coming from. We got a hold of some information that supposedly alleges to be the trust that Noble Drew Ali established. And in just reading it, the first thing that let me know that this is absolutely fraud is that it appears to have been referencing an action that took place in 1998. Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali passed form, I believe, in 1929. So I know that that is not anything that the Prophet established. The other thing, I mean, it's just so many things. But, in this documentation, it references Moorish Americans, blacks, or African Americans. Now, there's no way that you can talk about Moorish Americans in the same breath and reference blacks and African Americans when the first degree is you are not Negro-colored, black, African American, or Ethiopian. That's just absolutely out of order. It makes mention of a fee simple estate. That terminology right there is just letting you know that something is up. This alleges that this trust was duly created in 1928. I can't say it enough. And I don't understand why people have a problem with the writings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. The little bit that I was able to read, because I'm sure in his lifetime he probably wrote a lot. But even the little bit that we have today, it shows you that this is a man a most noble son that was brilliant. Now, if he's this brilliant, and he was so brilliant that he prophesied future events that we are experiencing today and will experience far into tomorrow. So if he's a prophet, not only is he brilliant, he has a vision of the future. With that, let me not forget, the prophet was absolutely knowledgeable, 1,000% to the 10th power, 1,000% to the 10th power, absolutely knowledgeable when it comes to law. With just those three things, there's no way that the prophet would be utilizing the policies and procedures of the Union State when he knows we Moors cannot be members of the Union State. There's no way that he would be using statutes when his background is absolutely based in law. Statutes is not law. All right? There's no way that the prophet, this brilliant man who was a prophet, that had the ability to see into the future, was going to take a modern concept such as trust, and if you do the history on the trust, you'll find out it's English law, not American. The prophet was absolutely of an American ancestry, Moorish American. He taught American law. He was not going to use English anything, certainly not a statute, to create anything modern that's supposed to encompass ancient people. Ancient and modern do not go together, not like that. The only way that you can be ancient in modern times is if you are of a lineal descent line. We are. That is why we can say that this is our vast estate. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali is not a grantor of an ancient estate, because he would have had to have been here, which, when we look at things, we was all here in the beginning and the end, because everything is a circle. However, when we talk about being grantors, in order for you to be a grantor of this land, you have to be an ancestor. You have to understand what that is. You are not a grantor of anything today. And if you allege that you are a grantor today, really what you're saying is, I have ownership of. Ownership simply means that you have a possession or a usury possession of it today, but as soon as you pass form, all of that goes away. That's not what we as Moors have as heirs. This is our inheritance. It is our inheritance because we are Moors by bloodline. That means we've never needed any modern policies of trust, foreign though they may be. We absolutely could never use statutes to speak of our position when it comes to our vast estate. And even though the rights of indigenous people came into being in 2006 or 2007, I think, they absolutely acknowledge the fact that we, the Aboriginal Indigenous People of this land, this is our inheritance. Because of that, the same United Nations put out the United Nations Declaration on Decolonization. Now, if you're going to make a presentment in terms of the estate of the Moors, those are the instruments you ought to be using in conjunction with American law. That American law the American Constitution, 1791, and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. If people would study those two documents, look, we went through the analysis of the American Constitution, 1791, Treaty of Peace and Friendship. In our studies, it shows you the Articles of Association showed you that these people had to do a pledge. They had to make a pledge, changing of an allegiance. That was in 1774. In 1776, they made the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, that's the what is it called? Declaration of Independence. That came in 1776. Then in I want to say, where was it? Between 1776, you had after that you had the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation is the precursor to the American Constitution, but before you can get to the Articles, before you can get to the Constitution, there had to be a Treaty of Peace and Friendship, because what we did was we helped them to establish themselves as a nation. And in order for them to interact with the Moors on this continent, there had to be a treaty in place, hence the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. And then from that, you get the American Constitution, 1791. So you have to understand the history. You have to understand why all of those documents are referenced as being enforced simultaneously in Article 6 of the American Constitution. There's a reason for that. So now here we are in 2016, and even though we're talking about a document that was written in 1998 or referenced in 1998, and then is speaking of an alleged trust that was written by Prophet Noble Jew Ali in 1928, there's no way that there could be such a thing. Not from Prophet Noble Jew Ali, because they go against everything that I have read that he wrote and he was about. Prophet was about civics. He taught civics, which is lost. I've never read anywhere that he taught statutes. Never, anywhere. And then when you further read this document, there's just some gross irregularities in it, and I haven't even finished. I haven't finished analyzing. There's reference to fee simple estate, deed of conveyance. Deed of conveyance. Just thinking about the word, a deed of conveyance, why would there be a deed of conveyance to inheritance? A deed is evidence of a tenant agreement, all right? Why would there be any type of a conveyance? This is our estate. Who is doing the conveying? Who is giving it and who's receiving it? And when did it go away? Because the last I checked, I'm still standing on it. I'm still standing on American soil. So when did it go away and nobody told me? Because I'm still standing on it. Then it talks about being in possession of title deeds. Well, the title is Il-Bede Al-Ali, and once again, deed is evidence of a tenant agreement. We're not tenants. This is our inheritance. And as such, we need to act accordingly. And then the case laws that are being used is just absolutely contradicting. And I don't understand why anyone would even use this case law, because it seems to me that if your position is to show that, this is your inheritance, why would you use a case law talking about the state being the chief lord or lord paramount? Or the state being the chief lord or lord paramount. And then the question has to be, okay, that case law is absolutely unconstitutional because it can't own property. The state is a corporation. Corporations can't own property. So I mean, it's just so much in here. Then there's another case file where it makes reference, he must show that the right of the government is paramount to the right of plaintiff, otherwise judgment will go against him. Well, what government would have rights that would be greater than the people? What government is that? You know? And there's so much more to analyze, but I'm going to end with this. We as Moors, it says we need to go back to the mindset of our foremothers and forefathers, and that is so absolutely true. We need to go back to the mindset of our ancestors. We need to think. We need to stop chasing down these schemes or scams or whatever you want to call them. There's nothing wrong. To me, there's nothing wrong with analyzing things that come across your view, because that helps you to see things. But you should not be falling for, whatever comes across your purview. You should have the ability to read, analyze, discern, and make an informed decision. It doesn't matter who the information is coming from, because this alleges to be coming from a Bey, someone with the title Bey, who is claiming to be a trustee, and claiming to be a trustee of the inheritance, vast estate of the Moors. You know, just from looking at the estate, which is expressed in chapter 47 of the Quran, in my humble opinion, you would need more than one person. If there was to be a trustee, you would need more than one to manage all of that. And every Moor, all the Americas, that would be your North America, South America, Central America, and the islands, would have to agree to that person or persons or those Moors being trustees. But this right here, alleging that there was a trust established by Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and that this one person is now the manager of said trust, that is, to me, in my opinion, so incorrect. So incorrect, because we are supposed to be able to manage our own affairs. The only thing that we need to do with the land is preserve it and take care of it. We'll be here long after we are gone. So with that, we need to learn how to handle our affairs, which basically, in my opinion, means know how to conduct your affairs as it relates to your individual family, your individual self, and, do things to preserve our entire family, such as possibly, establishing some form of learning. I don't want to use the word institution, but a learning, someplace where we can send our children as Moors, and they can get the proper education so that they can go on and do greater things. We need to leave this trust business alone and look to handling our family affairs. Because if we handle our family affairs, the land will be here and it will take care of us. So we need to get out of that mindset of modern Europeans of trying to claim something that really is not here for anybody to claim. It's here for everybody to use and enjoy in peace and harmony. Islam?
Wow. If I could take the floor right behind that, I just wanted to add on absolutely agree with everything you said. I think, and I trust as though in the fact that it is imperative for us to actually be, I don't want to say act like we are because we are, but to be, those competent beings who have the territorial jurisdiction of our ancestral estate. The trustee concept, I never really could grasp that when Noble Drew Ali said, we placed our trust upon the appellations formed by our foremothers and forefathers. To me, that's really simple. You know what I mean? The titles, the El Bey, Al, and Ali. And with that, a load of your thought process, comes in a load of your living. Like as far as the mindset, your mind state and your mindset as far as dealing with these people. I'll give you an example. The trustee title is one that's loosely thrown around, and this is not something I'm trying to say I'm proud of, but an experience in these, these zoos that they call jails or hell houses or whatnot. An average commoner can be made a trustee within that institution. These are the ones who mop the floor, who serve the trays, all of this. These are considered trustees. But these are the same people who will sell you out, depending on themselves, to the Romans who are oppressing you. You know what I mean? Like, if they had the chance. And say, I'm just saying, when you talk about trust, you got to be really careful in who you place that in. Going back to what you said about the family, in the lineal descent line, I just want to add on a few references. This reference in Source of Law is from the Institutes of International Law, Volume 1, by Richard Wildman. And it says, the heir is deemed to be one and the same person as his ancestors for all legal purposes, period. Now, that correlated to me with what Noble Drew Ali was saying. You are who your foremothers and forefathers were, without doubt or contradiction. So when it says here the heir is deemed to be one and the same person as his ancestor for all legal purposes, first and foremost, that's law, but that's to be considered for all legal purposes because there's a difference between legal and lawful. So lawfully, you're the heir at birth. That's the birthright. You know what I mean? And specifically, the sisters. I want to add on a reference a little later relative to that. But I do want to say this. These so-called trustees and clerks, like, well, the history of these people that were outsiders from the Moorish family. Before they was called trustees or clerks, they were actually called curators. And basically that's still what's going on to this day, but people don't realize that because this aspect of trustee, curator, clerk can only come in from or be operative dealing with a level of somebody being incompetent. So I just want to add this on. Excuse me. Definition of curator, you can look in your Black's Law Dictionary and analyze this. It says in civil law, a person who is appointed to take care of anything for another. The same kind of concept with a trustee, basically, It says a guardian. Now, being as though we're not minorities nor minors, we don't need these trustees or curators managing or trying to handle, our affairs, which we ought be or get to the level of competence where we can do that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we won't need help amongst each other. I'm just saying that a curator doesn't apply to a competent being. It just doesn't. There's no minority status there. So it says curator, a guardian, one appointed to take care of the estate of a minor above a certain age, a lunatic, a spendthrift, or other person not regarded by the law as competent to administer it for himself. The title was also applied to a variety of public officers in Roman administrative law, back to your emphasis on American law. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it is. So just because they take on different words, they still are operating under the same principle. Curators, clerks, and trustees. I mean, if you're in your own proper person, you know what I mean, as we all be, or being our natural selves, these positions, these types of people become irrelevant. Why? Because specifically when it comes to this state, because it's already ours. So, you know, in the concept of being in denial of your ancestry, I just want to add on another reference from Lassa Oppenheim, Ronald Roxburgh, page 15, where it says, and this is a treatise on international law, volume 1. It says, those legal rules which come down from ancestors to their descendants remain law so long as they are supported by common consent of these descendants. So the ancient law of our foremothers and forefathers is still valid if we're in that competent mind state and know that and be what you know. You wouldn't necessarily have to look without to you know, manage your own affairs. You know what I mean? Because if it's your house rules, right? So in that same aspect, why would you look to a European to manage that when they already, you know, circumvented just about everything they do? Now, just a last quick correlation before we go in a little bit more. When we speak of the law, right, and we talk about birth rights, natural rights, one thing in American law, one thing that we have to understand, and my mom has said this before, you have said this before, we've all got this lesson or achieved this lesson, that when the child is born, the mother has laid down the law, like the law to live the mathematics of a lineal descendant is achieved, or heir, however you want to look at it, at birth. How that correlates to law, the natural body correlates to law so many different ways. It's internal. You got to realize it's internal, because just like we have a constitution, which is the law of the land, your body has a constitution, constituents. You know what I mean? In that respect, you are the law. So I want to quote this reference. That was a preface to quote this reference. And this is out of the Classics of International Law, issue 9, volume 2, all right? And on page 41, it says here, constitution of a person in the physical sense results only from the three processes: procreation, development, birth, trinity, period. Said, the constitution of a person in the physical sense results only from the three processes: procreation, development, birth, which those processes, for the most part, take place in the mother's womb. That's where the temple is built at. So when you talk about the descent, you know what I mean, the uterine descent, these are things that have to be considered. It says here, though, consequently, the constitution of a person in the civil sense results only from the three processes which have been mentioned, for civil processes are parallel to those of nature. When the man is set down as an heir, now remind you, man in law does not mean the masculine species alone. So where it says, when the man is set down as an heir, you have procreation. When the testator dies, development. When one enters into an inheritance, birth. An inheritance, birth. So inheritance is birthright. You understand? This is the law of nature. There's no subsequent process, you know what I mean, that can make that be true, because we are who our foremothers and forefathers were, who our ancestors were. So with that being said, if we are the only competent ones on the land within the jurisdiction of our ancestral estate, you know what I mean? Not to say we want to, selfishly hog every piece or square mileage on the earth. But, as a nation, we have that right, being the nation that we are. But you can't yourself just enjoy the whole estate by yourself. It's too big. It's too many people. It's too many Moors that are Aboriginal Indigenous that have that same right. And I don't mean too many as if it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it's something we can all enjoy. And we can do that by placing our trust in the appellations, because that was formed by our foremothers and forefathers, because that's where they place their trust. And I'm just saying within that comes in a loyal exercise, because you don't see nations like China asking Ireland for permission to do anything. You know what I mean? They just don't.
That's right.
Exercise their autonomy. You know what I'm saying? And it's right. Not even, there's nothing to debate about. You might be from the Chin family, you might be from the Zing family or whatever, but they respect each other, and that's where it starts at. So there's no discrepancy, because they know that in common they have this ancestral right, which they get to share in unity. So their brethren or sistren directly in the area, them exercising their rights gives them strength too. Why? Because they're part of a body. So when you talk about the Constitution and the body of laws and things of that nature, it's likened to the body of man in the flesh, male or female. It's the principles of creation, inheritance, birth, which all goes back to natural law. I say anything outside of that is opening the lane for, leeches to say, okay, these people are incompetent and they place their trust in us and we could do what we do. Eventually, escheat the state, et cetera, et cetera. So I just see it as, us being competent can weed out a lot of, or prevent a lot of those situations before they happen, because I'm pretty sure we all have, a family member where they were jibbed out of their inheritance or had to pay, non-applicable inheritance taxes and all of this craziness here. These go back to those who are claiming or acting as if they're curators over an ancestral estate that's not theirs. So with that, I just want to yield the floor for now and let everybody else add on. Islam?
All right, Islam.
Islam. I just wanted to say, we've been hearing a lot about, and those who are listening have been getting involved a lot with different trusts. Now, the one that you're referring to that may be one that some people are using, or even if it's not and it's some other trust, I think you get the message that it is not a necessity, because all of it is statutory. So for those who've been out there, paying all these people to do a trust and all of it is statutory. And as we're saying, asking permission for something that is already yours. That's why the prophet said, "You're rich, my children are rich." And again, he said we place our trust in the issues and deeds of our foremothers and forefathers. Now, that's a heavy statement right there. That's a heavy, because he said in the issues formed by them, in the issues formed by them. And so what we need to think is, what is he talking about? What issues? So then we go into a history, and we find out all the things that our ancient foremothers and forefathers have done by deed, or that is written, which is, brings you right down to the Constitution. And there's some people who say, oh, no. It's amazing how some people say, well, we didn't have anything to do with the Constitution. it was authorized. Everyone knows that. You read the letter from George Washington to the Sultan, which was the title. You read the history of the John Adams analysis letter. You go to 1774, the Articles of Association, which the prophet told you to go to. You follow the history thing, and you realize what was formed and the deeds that were done. But you have to study to get that. Now, the other thing is when he said the deed issued, issued by our foremothers and forefathers. Now, that didn't mean a deed instrument. He didn't mean like the deeds that people are dealing with now, which is a commercial instrument. You know, like a deed is an action, something done, or it could be also written. But the deeds that most of the people are dealing with in regards to mortgages, trusts, and all that is an instrument, a commercial instrument. It has nothing to do with it. And we also wanted to make clear. Now, I got a one-page document that we'll be putting up on the site probably tomorrow. If I can get it up tonight, it's really done. It's just a couple of edits on it to kind of express some of the things that we're talking about tonight, because so many people, I've got my trust and all this, and then there's people who are doing trust that other people are doing, finding out that the person who's doing the trust for you is putting your stuff in their trust that they created. It's just absolutely off the chain. And there's no need for us to have permission. Now, the other thing that we talked about was the Cestitute Trust. Now, Annie, you kind of went through that, but, you and I talked about that, but that's another one of the mistakes. A lot of things we do it based off of what modern Europeans do. They don't have the same exact position that we have, and that's just shown in the history period that, that what the things that they attempt to do cannot be the things that we attempt to do as direct lineal descendants and inheritors. It's not the same at all. But a lot of people have been dealing with that, with this Cestitute, and I think one line that we just talked about, Annie, before we came on, is that when you get in with the Cestitute Trust, it says, it's basically, when you look at the definition of that, if I say this right, he who has a right to a beneficial interest on and out of an estate, the legal out of an estate, but the legal right to it is rested in another. And I'm going to give example. That's like, for instance, they have use of the land. That's why they occupy the land, but they don't have ownership. Or ownership is also commercial. So now another example is when they tell you about the history of anything, like recently about the history of Easter, if you read stuff, it'll say, well, we've been celebrating Easter for a long time, using Easter eggs and bunnies, and it was adopted. Sometimes they'll say who it was adopted by, or they won't say who it was. They never identify who it was adopted by, but they admit that it was adopted, and sometimes they'll say it's adopted by pagans. Well, who were pagans? Pagans were the Aboriginal Indigenous People. Now, I know they may think that's some bad word or something, but they're never talking about. They're only talking about themselves. They're never talking about who these people are that it was adopted from. Now, the reason why they don't is because it becomes real clear that those people are all of the Aboriginal Indigenous melanated business. And then suddenly you might know something about who you are, your foremothers and your forefathers, and what you are as a lineal descendant of. So we really have to, and I think, Annie, you hit it earlier when you said we really have to study. That's one thing we didn't do. And I remember it always being said to me, because I used to say this, and I got it. He said, you cannot, history and law go together. And it's real clear as to why. Because it's through that succession of actions and things that are done that you realize and tie it all together as to who you really are.
Islam. But before Cujo goes in, I just want to make a correlative analysis based off of what you just said about Easter. Some people may already know, but if you go to the homepage of RV Bay Publication right now, there's a picture there of the 7th Ecumenical Council, which corresponds to the 2nd Nicene Council, which the Europeans were trying to overthrow. And the fact that Moors had history, have history amongst that influence or necessity for the Christians, for their earthly salvation, it kind of reminds me of the same political aspects of North America, like how they had Ecumenical Council and Nicene Council. These are two different jurisdictions, just like they had Continental Congress and then the U.S. Congress. People take it on face value that Moors had nothing to do with the forming of, the Europeans being accepted here. And I think that you could kind of see that history repeated itself in American constitutional law, whereas, you wouldn't, if you didn't know any better, you probably wouldn't associate Moors as having relevance to that. But, ignorance is no excuse, don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying I see that same aspect in the concept of the 7th Ecumenical Council and the 2nd Nicene Council correlating to the distinguishment between or parallel, it being parallel with American law and United States law, like that distinguishment. Or, like I said before, the Continental Congress versus the U.S. Congress, because U.S. is not a continent, you know what I mean? America is, so Canaan land was involved in honest to you, Cujo, because you've been bringing that out in your demonstrations as far as, the historical documents tying in Canaan land with, the rest of North Al-Marat. So it's no secret. I'm just saying that all of these things kind of correlate from my analysis. Islam.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just listening in right now, and y'all been beating it up for the past hour.
Indeed.
So, well, I'm taking it in right now.
Indeed.
Go ahead.
No, my fault. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom. But I was saying before the class, you sent me an email that somebody had asked you a question about, and I think that particular question should be posed to everybody on the panel, because I think that y'all have a more elaborate answer, but it's kind of relative to this estate. You know what I mean? To the estate. If y'all will go in, and maybe not right now. I know you was about to add something on, but when I posed this question that was asked by brethren, I trust that y'all have some enlightenment for the record for this brother, because when you look at the inheritance, who actually has personam jurisdiction over the child till the child is competent, there is an aspect of the mother that cannot be left out for it to work functionally. You know what I mean? Specifically going up against Rome. And they, you know how Rome does. Like, if they can see your neck, they trying to stick fangs in. So I see it like one of the biggest aspects, and we've heard this before, we know this is real, you know what I mean? But it's like a thing that manifests itself more clear and clear daily, is that the sisters have to be involved, because when you look at the matriarch, which was a form for primitive people, and primitive means original people. Check out the definition, R.V. Big Publications, on the Return of the Matriarch page. That definition holds a lot of weight as far as where we ought to be standing as natural people, not to feel inferior, but it just, it is what it is, you know what I mean? Like, it's a natural fact. As I just went into the fact that, there's 3 processes of the creation, you know what I mean? Procreation, development, and birth. Gotta give it up for the women who have the ability to do that, you know what I mean, and who have done that. So, all due respect to all creation. But this is an aspect that can't be left out in ameliorating the position or condition of our nation today, you know what I mean, to where we need to be at. So big acknowledgement to you all. I didn't want to cut your wisdom, but after you add on what you were going to add on, maybe since it's kind of relative, we could go into that question. Islam? Ma?
Islam.
Am I good? I'm good?
Yeah.
Okay, I can hear myself. That's good.
No, you're good. You're good.
Cujo, are you there?
All right. Not yet. But y'all don't hear my...
Yeah, you're echoing.
You're echoing now.
Y'all are too. That's crazy.
Did the echo stop?
Yeah, I think it stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been me with my little easy access shoe, pal. But anyway, Cujo, are you there? Is Cujo there, or did he just go?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, yeah, you probably tired. You had a long class, but I don't know what that question is that Ms. is talking about, or whatever you wanted to add. If you were going to add anything, but we're not aware of that question that was asked. But I guess it was just was it just about?
Yeah,
you got it there. You got it there
right here.
You can put it out.
I got it right here. All right, so this is what the question was that was sent to Cujo from a son, a brother, mind you. It says, I have civil hearings approaching regarding 3 of my children. My question is, can I not, as the father, file counterclaim documentation stating and verifying that I am the executor of the estate? And this is why I felt like the question was kind of relevant to tonight, talking about the estate, the trust, etc. And maybe you can ameliorate this understanding for not just the brother, but for everybody. So I'm going to bring it back and read this question or statement all the way through with no ad-lib. So it says, I have civil hearings approaching regarding 3 of my children. My question is, can I not, as the father, file counterclaim documentation stating and verifying that I am the executor of the estate? And in this case, the estate are my children. This is what it said. It said, and by doing, hold on, listen. It says, and by doing this, I will demand custody as I see fit according to each different situation and shall be given what I demand. I want full custody of my son. I will not say any appellations, and his daughter, and will want partial custody of my other son, basically.
Okay.
As nationalized, hold on. Listen.
All right.
It says, as nationalized Moorish American, and as the biological father in propria persona, won't those colorable courts have to recognize me as executor of the children's estates and the children as property of the father's estate, therefore give me according to my demands, being they have no jurisdiction over me, ? That was the statement / question, if y'all would like to go over that.
Absolutely. I just want to say this. Look at the language, custody. What does it have to do with inheritance, with birthright, with the fact that no, unfortunately, and see, this is the part where it gets raggedy in terms of the people's response to when we're trying to wake up these sisters, because the children shouldn't even be in these courts under no circumstances at all, and those who are the husbands or whatever shouldn't be in there either. But no, because the all law is that the condition of the child is determined by the mother, not the father. What does it take for the sons to get that? That the child is really the mother's child. She came here with the child in her womb with those eggs. That's the nation. And see, in natural law and in international law, which supports that is already known, whether he knows that or not. And that's why he's asking the question. And he's asking this question. But the fact of the matter is that those are her children. And that, yes, he may have sparked the electrical spark necessary, through the intercourse and all of that. That might be true, but they're really the mother's baby. That's why natural law and the rights of indigenous people and international recognitions and acknowledgments of natural law tells you that the condition of the child is the mother. So no, so now he's talking custodial. That's inferior jurisdiction. It has nothing to do the custodian. What the hell is that? That's some crap that they made up, and they got our people, including the sisters, running around talking about custodial on a natural flesh and blood being that is the mother's child. It is the mother's baby, maybe as they say for a reason. I mean, they may say it for a different reason, but that's the law. That's the law. So custodial has nothing. So recognizing him, hell no, they're not going to recognize. They're going to laugh at you because they already know that it is about the mother's condition. Now that's it, and that's all.
No doubt. Now, I don't want to cut your wisdom. I just want to ask you this question right here, or to ameliorate this understanding. Should we even be trying to use this language? This is my question for us all to go in on, if y'all will, because it is relative to this state, et cetera, and whatnot. You know what I mean? Now, I'm going to go back and quote a piece of this statement/question. It says, as nationalized Moorish American and as the biological father in propria persona, won't those colorable courts have to recognize me as the executor of the children's estates and the children as property of the father's estate? Now, I'm going to stop right there. Hold on.
Okay.
My question to you is this. We know that it's about the mother's estate, you know what I mean, et cetera. It's matrilineal, and the inheritance is matrilineal in natural law and American law. Hold on. Now, this is something we got to ameliorate, because in English law, they go by the patriarch, not British law. I'm not saying British law. I'm saying in English law, they go by the patriarchal concept that the condition of the child is determined by the father. If Moorish American sons, brothers, etc., come amongst Europeans who know English law like that, would that be grounds automatically for them to start treating them according to English law? Like if a brother comes and he's making the claim, these are my children, I'm the biological father, their status is my status. Like, granted, let's say, in all due respect, because people's situations are different. Like, I know somebody whose mother wasn't there because of personal problems. Some people's mothers passed before they could develop. So in a respectable situation, that's respectable. You know what I mean? However,
goes to the matriarch, goes to her mother.
Right. So now my thing is this, where he says, as nationalized Moorish Americans, et cetera, the colorable courts have to recognize me as executor of the children's estate and the children as property of the father's estate. My question to everybody right now is, as free, allodial, divine and national beings, should we ever be referring to our children as property in any regard?
Never.
Never, 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 never.
Never ever.
But see, this right here is a very huge picture, and mothers and sons, and even our callers, really need to take a close look at this. All right, because this is a huge setup. It's a huge setup, and you got the sons falling for it, and you got the mothers falling for it. Because what's going on here is the mother is off in left field. Because the mother is the mother. She is mother and father, whether she knows it or not. She is mother and father. Then you got the son over in right field. All right, and they're throwing darts at each other. Now, who's in the middle? The child. Now, while they're busy having this war on who's going to take possession of the property, the modern Europeans are looking at both these people and they're saying these people are retarded. They're not competent to take care of themselves, much less a child. We need to just go and take protection. We need to go take possession of the property because they are not competent enough to handle this property, and we're about the business of creating and maintaining revenue generators. That's what it's about. You are never the brother. You said that this brother is in civil court. I don't know what that means. To me, when I hear the word civil, that means that he brought some sort of case against the mother.
Yeah, well, his first line, mind you, Cujo sent this to me, but the first line says, I have civil hearings approaching regarding 3 of my children possessing.
All right. Now, the language there is off. He ain't got no children because he ain't got no womb. Ain't no nation come here in his womb. Those are her babies. Her babies all day, every day. But because many sons don't want to accept that, these modern Europeans use that misinformation about regarding biology against the son. Now, the son may very well want to be able to take care of the child. And that's a very honorable and noble endeavor. However, you got to work with the mother. You can't just X the mother out and then take possession of the child. That's never going to work. That's a problem to begin with. You know, that's what modern Europeans do right now. They want to X mother out. You know, you got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Where the hell is mother? The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost all came through a womb. Where the hell is the womb? You want to X the womb out. And that's gonna create future ramifications for not just that son who's trying to do that, but the children. Because that's going to be a thinking that is perpetuated onto the next generation. Now, and you might be saying, well, no, I'm going to teach them. What are you going to teach them when your actions is what teach? Not your words, it's your actions. A lot of times they just don't want to accept the fact that those are her babies, and you're gonna have to eat crow and help her if you really want to help the child. That's just the way it is. And maybe going forward, you will do a better job of courting the woman instead of jumping into situations and ending up where we are today.
Say that.
Because now there's another thing too that was addressed here, and I think we talked about. It's funny because I was going to bring it up about sons being the inheritor. He's saying he's an executor of an estate. Now, executor and estate don't even go together.
Well, and then this other word, because he's saying executor. He's the executor of the children's estate. That is some patriarchal bull crap. That's where they're trying to.
Hold on.
Trying to get.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that this is his quote verbatim. He says, "I am the executor of the estate, and in this case, the estate are my children." This is what the brother said.
All right, that's absolutely out of order. Because see, first of all, those are her babies. All right, they are her. Those babies are because she's the heir. That means that those babies would be the lineal descendants of her estate, and the estate passes through mother because she's the one with the womb bringing the future generation here. All right. Now, there's in Moorish law there is no such thing as an executor of an estate. There's no such thing. That's some modern European trying to take over the ancestral estate of the Moors crap.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You can the only person see here because what an executor is kind of saying is I have the authority to speak on behalf of one. Well, as a son, and I know a lot of sons just hate to hear this. You only have the authority to speak on your behalf of yourself. Now, your mother, she has the authority and all the power to speak on behalf of herself and all her children. That's why when a mother's son is kidnapped, it don't matter how old she might be, she will go and move heaven and earth, and that she will be heard because that child came out of her. That was one of her eggs.
Right.
I'm messaging him right now because I think he's listening online. He wasn't able to get in on the call, but with regards to the situation, what he's saying is that the mother of his daughter is an addict.
Okay.
And the mother of his daughter doesn't care about the daughter, so that's why he's going for custody of her. His two sons stay with their mothers. His one son was living with him for 3 years while his mom was an addict, and then she got clean. And then when she got clean, she started taking him to court. And his other son is 3 years old, and he's only seen his other son once in the 3 years.
Okay. Now these
so
are
so it's three children, three different mothers. Two mothers are addicts, and one mother is keeping him from seeing his son.
Okay, so it's three different mothers, two of which are addicts. One is keeping them from seeing the son. One mother, after getting clean, probably on some program from the state or the county, and the children were under jurisdiction of the corporate state. She probably had to follow all of these rules, laws, not laws. And then she got clean, wanted her children back, started taking him to court to get her children back, got one back. Well, I don't know because it's three different mothers. But in this situation where the mother is incompetent for whatever reason, because, see, that's the only way. Some sons want to try to make a mother incompetent, and others, in this guy's case, if they were already incompetent, and I'm going to just use that word incompetent loosely, they had a drug problem for whatever reason. No one knows what was going on with that. but that would have made them incompetent to take care of a child at that time, and maybe they were not that when he met her. I don't know them. I met both of them. I don't know. So in a situation where the mother is in fact incompetent is the only reason that the family would want that the child should go to what the usually it goes to the mother's mother. Well, let's just say her mother, right?
Yeah, which is what, yeah. His daughter is with his daughter is with the grandmother right now.
The mother's mother.
The mother's mother.
That's exactly how it goes. Right. That doesn't mean he can't be the see his child, or it shouldn't be, because that's how family ought to be. So that's how it goes through the matrilineal. But let's just go back and say that the mother's mother was on drugs. Who knows? Because that's what our whole nation is not gonna go to. But these types of things. So let's just say that the mother's mother is incompetent. Now what? There's got to be. Doesn't mean that a father can't take care of the child. But what it does mean is that the problem we have, which is the setup, is that in order for him to do so, he's got to go through this system that he even shouldn't have to go through, because it should be the love for the family, and what's best for the child is determined by those who love and care for the child. So he shouldn't be having to fight anything. But now, right now, it seems you're saying the one mother that he's fighting, she's the one. Okay, I'm confused because it's three different moms. The one that he's fighting, she's the one who's clean and just wants her child. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well. Okay. So you just said that the one that's the daughter is staying with the grandmother, right? But the grandmother is keeping him from seeing his daughter.
Grandmother is wrong for doing that.
Yeah, grandmother is directly keeping him from seeing his daughter. So
right.
So his mentality is with regard to the daughter, how could he just sit there and let his daughter grow up without having access to her father?
That's
which
the
is
question
why
he needs. Yeah, that's the question that needs to be posed to the grandmother, and it needs to be worked out as to why she would do that. In the family, it has to be worked. All of our issues should be worked out within the family. The only reason that grandmother's probably doing that is because, for whatever reason she may have, just or unjust, is because she is under the same jurisdiction of these so-called family services in court, and she's doing the same thing that a mother would do against the father, which is what we have to stop doing. Our issues may need to be worked out. Maybe they're moral or ethical, but they don't belong in this system that's in this third-party interloper that is involved. So it becomes real twisted. And what do you do? Because on one hand, it's like the prophet said, truth and falsehood you will find is strangely mixed. Because one truth of it is that everything is matrilineal, which they use against him as long as the mother is on their side. But if the tables were turned, they would use him against her, like they would use him against her if the tables were turned. So they go either way. So we have to grasp our own situations and work out. So the question is, why should he sit back and let the grandmother do this, is a question that needs to be posed to grandma, not to the court. But since grandma got him in the court, it's just the same as the mother, the child having him in the court. And I speak that to all mothers out there who think they should go to these courts and set up child support and deadbeat dad crap and that whole trap just to navigate their families. It's wrong all the way around. So it's not. So the injustice is not just on the part of the father or of the husband. It's on the part. It's on everybody. We all suffer from it. But that question will have to be posed to grandma as to why she do it. Hold on, Ada. I'm done. And were you trying to say something?
No.
I don't know. What is your? I think it's sad. I think it's sad because, we get these kinds of situations that come up, and sometimes we just have to tell them, look, if the mother is messed up in the head, be it on drugs or be it on, be it that she's with the system, and she's got the system on her side as her pimp, because that's what they're doing. They're pimping her and him, really. You know what? It's almost a lose-lose battle, because then they'll use the truth mixed with the falsehood that the condition of the mother, it determines the child, and they'll use that against the father, against the father. This is what they do. So if she's messed up, and then what can he do? Because he can clearly go, like, to answer some of this question now. He can clearly go and make it real clear to these courts that he is not under their jurisdiction. Now what you going to do? Because the child is, and the mother's got the child under it. So now you got to go back to that same court that has no that same so-called court that has no jurisdiction over him, that he is duly proved. You have no jurisdiction to tell me I got to pay child support or go to jail. You have no jurisdiction. Now you want to see the child, and now you got to go back to those same people to try to get visitation. That's very twisted. That's what's twisted about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what? Oh, go ahead, bro. My fault.
No. I was just gonna say, and yeah, you see, he agrees that it's twisted, like it's super twisted, and
super twisted.
It's just this is just where he's at right now. Guess
what, Cujo? If he wanted to get so-called custody, which is inferior, if he wanted to do that, he would have to go by the rules of what they say. So,
yeah, it's almost a lose-lose, like you're saying.
Yes, it is.
Because you still got to put yourself under the jurisdiction.
And it's the mother's fault for that. Because 99.9% of this situation regarding this child support and all the other stuff that go with it, I'm going to say it's mother's. I don't want to say fault. It's mother's responsibility not to have their children in those conditions. And then it's their mother's mother, and then it's the sister, and then it's the daughter, and then it's the other mother. It's all the mothers, every mother out there. This screwed up situation where it is in regards to our children, to our family, it's all your responsibility, mother. Every mother, every daughter, and every sister. So I don't know if that makes them feel better, but that's just the truth.
Yeah, Ms., I just sent you his email and phone number, so if you could forward it and y'all just give him a call or whatever else.
Okay.
He's just looking for some support or whatever, how to deal with it, how to forward.
Look, he already knows that if he's got to go to court to do anything, to that family court or whatever the hell they call it, he already knows that it's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, before they put those children in anybody's foster home because mother is unconscious, so terribly unconscious, and like that, they'll find another family member who will agree, as Grandma has done, to their position. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, you know what? I will say this, though. I will say this because there's a lot of pressing needs of the hour of my life alone. So I want to reach out to the brother.
All right.
I think that this was the perfect way to bring it up. I'm not saying I won't talk to the brother, but I cannot promise, all my time. But I'll say this. The wisdom that was already dropped, take heed to that. And I'll also say, I'm not, and this is not to down the brother, like, look at what you did. I'm just saying how we can learn from this lesson moving forward. I think Anaid already nailed it when she said we have to start preventing and start courting the type of active women or upright women with integrity, as far as the courting process, because, you know what I mean? What they call them today, dots and all of that, you know, that's easy. You don't, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just go for that. Like, as we mature as adults, you know what I mean? The easy jackpot is not what we're looking for no more. We're looking for, you know, bonds so we can set our house in order. And to change the people, you got to change the literature. So we have to get back into these scripts, because a lot of remedies were already left so that we can prevent situations like this. And I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you carefully choose your consort, you won't end up with addicts and whatnot. And I'm not dissing the sister. I'm just saying this is not the only brother that had to go through that. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that,
what you're saying, what you're saying is right. And I just have to say this because you sometimes you got to get in this thing, in this trench with this, and in the mindset, because even if himself or her or any other mother out there, at the time they already set themselves up to put themselves and their children in this situation, right? So the first thing that should be going down is walking yourself out of that. Now, if he's walking himself out, but she's not walking herself out, this is where the problem is. They already have this list of stuff that they got in their file that they say you did, or she did, or the father did, or the mother did. They come to your house looking at the refrigerator and all this crap, right? They already got this history of stuff that was allowed to be done, even though out of lack of knowledge, whatever. So the first thing to do is to get yourself out of that, situation properly with proper actions, you know? So, and I'm saying that maybe that's not the case in his case, but in anyone else's case, you know, to look at this is what we have done and allowed to be done with our family. So we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that first. We have to become who we are, because we can't be who we are and have to be who we are. We can't be, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we already know, once we find out who we really are, that, damn, I agreed to this, and this. Go rescind that stuff by a letter stating so. You understand what I'm saying? Get out of that first. And bring the children with you.
And I wanted to add this on, too. Maybe what will help bring the harmony is if the brethren devise the plan of atonement or settlement amongst, you know, the women who gave birth to the children that he contributed, thus has a reciprocal responsibility too. In all cases, because I'm just saying, you know, specifically civil, there is something called settlement. You know what I mean? Where you don't have to go in the court to resolve the matter. That can be handled amongst what? Emphasis on competent beings. You know what I mean? So y'all can reach an agreement if you can work that out. You know what I mean? I don't know the hostility of the situation in its full depth, but what I'm saying is, as mature, competent beings, we should be able, you know what I mean, to conclude, solve, resolve different disputes that we might have amongst the people that we deal with. Specifically, if you've had sexual unions and contributed to the process of procreation, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be some sort of way, even if it takes some time, where y'all could come to some mutual terms and settle the matter outside of their venue. And all you really got to do is put them on notice that, look, we came to this agreement. However you want to do it. I mean, I personally, I would rather see, you know, a family in unity with integrity amongst their living, opposed to saying, okay, because, I mean, it doesn't work out for everybody. Excuse me. I think a fallacy is that by people having children or contributing to that act, and then subsequently children coming from that act of motion, that is not going to make those indelible bonds between two people. That, like, just because somebody has a child doesn't mean that your relationship is going to be indelibly good. Like, that's not true. So we have to build those bonds in relations and understanding prior to getting into them. But if it's any way that you can Islam the situation, and when I say that, I mean self-law and master the situation. You got a discrepancy with what you say the mother of your children. See if you can resolve that. No different than if somebody caught, a discrepancy of what they call beef on a block or whatever. You know what I mean? You're either going to go to war forever till somebody gets really hurt, or you're going to squash the situation before it gets there. Same rule applies in law. You know what I mean? You have the ability to make peace. I don't know how far they're willing to take that, because you're talking about 3 women, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 2 it sounds like. So, if you can make a man and a grandmother, right? But hold on. Let's take the lesson from that too. Even they know they got to respect a certain order of the matriarch. You know what I mean? Or the sister's mother, the grandmother, knew she was a matri and stepped in and said, they coming with me before they go with anybody. It's one of those 2 things. You know what I'm saying? This is what they're supposed to do. So the grandmother, I don't know all the details, but I trust to have a conversation. I you know what I mean? A lot of my thoughts and things are on these records that we do every Tuesday, Sons of Allah every Thursday. I want to talk to the brother True. But for the people, if we could all learn from this, you know what I mean? Specifically the youth right now, you know what I mean? It's not just about the gratification of the lower self, sexual activity. It's a beautiful thing, don't get me wrong, but it's not all about that, because that is concerned with time. It begins and ends. So after that, then what? What are you dealing with? You know what I'm saying? And this is what we have to start looking at, because if you're trying to establish indelible bonds for a family unit, you have to have integrity. You have to have certain wisdom in place before that happens, so we don't find ourselves behind the 8 ball with nowhere to move, the queue. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. So, again, like I said to the brother, man, I definitely look forward to talking, but with the wisdom that was dropped tonight, I would suggest that you analyze and correlate how you know what I mean, can contribute to bringing in the load of your remedy between you and those you've had, activity with, that you are honored to have certain activities with. So bring the remedy, because the relationship didn't stop there. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you Islam the situation. Now, I don't know if they're agreeable, but I think if, you really come clean and humble, no bias, no animosity, really get your plan together and present it to the family. You know what I mean? And then from there, after you tried, if you tried and get rejected, at least you could say you tried before it goes to, you going before some Europeans saying, look, the mother of my child is an addict. Because I'm just saying they're going to look at, well, what are you then? You know what I mean? Like, in that respect. So you need to bring that integrity back if you can contribute to that. And with that being said, family, I yield the floor, but definitely I will be talking to the brethren. Islam.
That would be great, because maybe we need to think about having a future show where we talk about stuff like something like this. Not just now. We can't, I think it would be great if we could have some sort of a forum, you know, or a future show where we talk to the mothers and the sons about this, because I can see where what needs to happen, in my opinion, because I did this, because I wasn't going to be having nobody involved in my business. And both parties have to look at it this way. I didn't care what I had to do so that I can have a peaceful and harmonious relationship with my children's father. I didn't care what I had to do. Because to me, it was more beneficial to everybody to have a peaceful and harmonious relationship than to be at war all the time. Mm-hmm. It was just more beneficial. I didn't care what I had to do. You know, sometimes you got to eat crow to maintain the peace. And you know, and if your ego just won't allow you to do that, you know, for the sake of the children, then maybe what you're doing ain't for the sake of the children.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
that was well said.
You know, it's all about the children. That's really, I in my lifetime, I have seen people go attack each other and go right through the very children that they're supposedly having so much concern for. And I'm not saying that they're doing this intentionally. I'm just saying that when the ego is high and, you know, and people just want to get their side of the situation across, sometimes it's very easy to miss the point that, look, you're supposed to be doing this for the children.
Real talk. Real talk. And may I add on, too, that the battle amongst what they classify, you know, mothers, fathers, children, it has so much more far-reaching effects than the battle itself. Because I know sisters that been through the fight, and I know sisters that lost those battles. They wasn't addicts or nothing. You know what I mean? The Magi just was like, okay, maybe this one was in a certain institution, you know what I mean, and they recognize sign symbols, whatever. You know what I mean? But somebody got off on one of my loved ones. And since that, she has not been the same since. So it was like, you don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though you could, it's not something that's morally correct, because this woman was upright, had integrity, you know what I'm saying? A lot of integrity. Can't say she was the most perfect person, but damn it, she was a good person, you know what I mean? Good people, like whatever you want to call them. And that whole thing from that to now is like, it almost seemed like she changed in a degree where from who I knew back then to now is a disembodied shell based off of this fight, you know what I'm saying? And she didn't have no ounce of malice in her heart. Not saying that good and bad doesn't exist in everybody, and I don't know all the details. I'm just saying that you got to look at the damage you can do to a person. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to get off in court, and that's going to be that because I got off in court. Well, you got off with foreigners, fam. You know what I'm saying? That don't love you, don't care about you, you know what I'm saying, will regulate your life if you let them. And that right there is the gateway to regulate your life. You mean to tell me you're going to consent to the mother of your children having, you know what I mean, 2 days out the weekend, and vice versa, you got the other 2 days out the weekend and all of this here? Like, it's a self-destructive battle that I feel as though I know can be prevented amongst the civilized themselves. I mean, you just attested to that as well, in the fact that you did what you had to do to maintain the peace and harmony amongst those who were a part of your family. You know what I'm saying? Because why? That's just the wise and civilized thing to do. Nobody got time to be trying to throw all their dirt about each other in front of a foreigner, fam. I don't even care if she was right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just certain things you don't do in front of foreigners. Certain things that you learned back in the day that just apply to life. Like, you don't air out your family's dirty laundry in front of everybody. Once you participated in that act of coercion, from that point, there was a bond created. You know what I mean? And you got to respect those bonds. Or if it was just a mutual agreement to get off or whatever, then it was left at that. But once you do that, in that process, that time period of 9 months, that applied science of the number 9, we can't even fathom, you know what I mean, takes place in the womb. You're dealing with a whole nother level of respect, you know what I mean? And that's just it. It's not about being right or wrong, you know what I mean? It's just being moral towards those you've had dealings with. And that's it, you know what I mean? This is really what it is. So, again, competent to handle your own affairs, because what? And I've said it before, and every time I say it, I'm going to preface this. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. As society begins with family, so does authority or government. Once you and a mate take, engage, and I don't mean just by an engagement ring. I mean when you engage each other, when you counteract with each other, or correspond with each other, shall I say. You know what I mean? Like, it's correlative to a family. You know what I mean? So that's the natural function on its own merit. And this is how you know that these people are on a mission to abolish de jure divine government by breaking up families, because there's no such thing as the family court in the American Constitution. There's no such thing as Chancery Court. Chancery Court does not exist in American law. And just look at the first 6 letters. Chance. You're talking about a gamble. You know what I mean? Like, this is what it is. It's the monopoly, fam. And you will be pried up and sent back to jail, and don't pass go, and regulating your estate, all off of what? You was just playing in the wrong venue. You know what I mean? That's just it. That's all. So that whole structure right there of the family court, we Aboriginal people have to understand that its sole function is to break up, you know what I mean, autonomous families, or those who have the ability to be autonomous families but don't know it. So my thing is this: I can have a disagreement with anybody, you know what I mean, or anymore, whatever. The thing is, I'm never going to directly bring the disagreement to a de facto venue. Boys, don't get it twisted. If you try to come at us with law, you will get bodied, like your boy is about to be. Not the brother we talking about. But what I'm saying is, morally, we don't move like that. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. It's not a first choice type of thing. You know what I mean? And again, this is why you got to acknowledge those who had their obligation ceremony without the priest or without getting into bondage. You know what I mean? They had different Moors witness their obligation and ceremony to each other. The obligation comes before the ceremony, et cetera, but to stay out of their jurisdiction is a wise thing to do, specifically in these days. And with that, family, I yield the floor as well. Y'all there?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, all right, sure, my fault. I had to go back then. I'm like, it's whatever, you know what I mean?
I heard that.
No. This is a great topic, and I think maybe it's one we need to revisit in the future broadcast, because, and it'll be great to get the mothers and the sons together and to talk about this, because I'm sure it would be most beneficial to everyone involved. Even if you don't have any child, even the sisters don't have a child right now, it would be beneficial to go have this information, because then you'll know how to navigate in your lives, and the sons too, because I say it all the time. We got to slow down. One of the things that these modern Europeans have us doing, we're always doing stuff too fast. And this whole show really demonstrates that we are constantly doing things too fast. We need to slow down. We need to get to know each other. We need to examine not just things but each other. And if we did that, we would absolutely have more harmonious relationships. We need to go back to the year-long courtship where you get to know people and not, I met you out on the street somewhere and now, I moved 30 days later, I'm living with you. That needs to stop. We need to stop doing it. We need to take time to get to know each other because, I found, and that astrology, look, that astrology is always 100% accurate every single time. Soon as the fourth month comes around, that's when the cracks start showing. And if you ain't give yourself enough time to analyze and get to know, and you jumping into situations, by the time month four get around, you're hating each other, and you're lucky if you can make it past the fourth month, because now you're ready to kill each other, and you can't stand the sound of the voice of the person that you was just crazy about, 90 days ago. And in that time, that relationships will break up, and somebody will find out that they are pregnant. Now it's too late. Now you're forced.
Now that hatred comes out. Now that's right. That dislike is in the womb. That dislike is outside of the womb. That dislike is these people to say, all right, you guys don't know what's up. But I just want to say it's interesting, and so that we all understand, when you said 90 days, it's like 3 months. Everybody knows when they have relationships about 3 months, they feel something, that be it something good or bad. They get that sign. They may not listen to it, but that's based on mathematics. That's the math. It's 90 days. It's a square. It's a corner. It's the same as the sun every 90 days takes that turn. That turn to the next season. It's based on that. So in 90 days, or in I guess a turn or angle or whatever, these things show themselves. And then in 6 months, everything that really is opposing your relationship starts coming up. I mean, you may be trying to work it out, but, then you would have to look into whether it's really something you ought to work out. And some people will ignore it or whatever like that. And then in the next 90 days, whatever it is, be it something good or bad, you actually produce something, whether it's a baby or not, because that's just how it works. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting that you brought that up. Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah. So, we got like 9 minutes left to the live internet feed, and what that means is at 11:30, the internet feed is going to go down. So if you're able to, you need to call 347-945-5899. All right. You need to call 347-945-5899 in order to get in and listen to the last hour of the broadcast. If you're not able to get in, wait until 12:30, and you can download the archive, and then you can listen to the last hour. So before we open up the telephone lines, I want to just say another thing that we need to look at in these situations is there are, and I know the brother is feeling away, but you have to look at things from the perspective of universal perfection. The universe is absolutely perfect. There are no mistakes. Everything is a lesson to learn. Now, and I know it's kind of hard to kind of go with that, especially when you're in the middle of something. And but it's when you're in the middle of something and things appear to be chaotic, when the universe is really trying real hard to get you to hear something, that's when things really get chaotic. Because the truth of the matter is, everybody involved everybody is here to learn lessons. It doesn't matter what the lesson is, how the lesson comes. Everybody is here to learn lessons. Nobody is here by accident. Everybody agreed to what is in front of them right now, and the reason you agreed to it was that was a means of you growing. And the only way we as people seem to grow is through pain and suffering. And so we agreed, if we don't listen, we don't follow the signs and the symbols, we agreed to learn through pain and suffering, because that was created by us to wake us up so that we will learn our lesson. Our lesson is not necessarily about having babies or getting possession of babies or getting cars or homes or things. Our lesson is really just the spiritual growth. Everything is designed to bring us right back to the source, and that source is where we're able to manifest instead of, creating things by happenstance, and then you're like trying to figure out how the hell did I get here? This is our lesson. This is our purpose for even existing in this dimension, in this physical form, is so that we can take these lessons and we can figure out, okay, what is the universe trying to tell me? So, brother, I would say this to you. There is a lesson in front of you, and that's why it is feeling so painful. There is absolutely a lesson in front of you. It really ain't got nothing to do with those mothers. It really ain't got nothing to do with them children. It's got everything to do with you. So I will say this. If you work on you, the universe will make it so that those things that you do desire will be given to you without effort. That's, at this stage, that's what I would suggest, because it really sounds like the universe is trying to tell you something. I have no idea what it's trying to tell you because it ain't my lesson. I can only say, pay attention. It's there for you. That's all I can say. If you can pay attention and figure it out, then things will get lighter for you. So with that, what I'm gonna do is open up the lines, and our first caller is caller 570-926. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maximum. Caller 570-926. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maximum. Oh, alrighty. Maybe they hit one by accident. We'll go to our next caller. Caller 954-687. You're live on the air. Please state your appellation at Northwest Maximum.
Peace to the family. My appellation is Divine, and I've studied opticianry for a couple of years. I got a degree in that, and everything is under the name of the person.
You said opticianry, like optics, like the eye, or
the eyes, definitely.
The eyes, exactly. Okay, all right.
So, I have been running a business, my family's been running a business for over 20 years. And, the business is definitely being passed on to me. You know what I mean? And, it's doing very, very good, successful. And I wanted to nationalize and still definitely maintain the business. But, in regards to medical, it requires licenses and, when you're talking about the corporate state, understand what I'm saying? So, I'm just trying to put it in perspective as to how to maintain that in the manner in which it's flowing and still nationalize and probably put the business, in proper jurisdiction, our jurisdiction.
I know it's a lot more wisdom on the line with this, but let me first ask, do you use chemicals with anything that you do?
We have a doctor that can prescribe medicine, of course. But if you're talking about on my side of things, it's more just lenses, frame glasses, etc. Frames, that.
Mm-hmm. So, if I was you, I would go more towards the law of nature, and I'm pretty sure Mother Ana-E could add on to this in multiple aspects. But look at what happened with the brother Dr. Sabi, etc. When they was trying to pressure him and question his integrity of what he was doing. You know what I mean? He won his court case based off the law of nature and 3 simple questions. Was it? You know what I mean? It was the law of nature. So when you're dealing with sight, vision, the senses, the spirit, man, that's already out of their jurisdiction. I don't know all the correlatives that go with that particular practice because I'm not that. You know what I mean? But I know that when you're dealing with the science of healing beings, if you're not using artificial chemicals, it's always in the jurisdiction of the law of nature, first and foremost. I just wanted to say that, and I yield the floor before anything else to say. So,
okay, no doubt. That makes sense.
Yeah, what happens is your question is a good question, and a lot of people would ask it as we come out of the indoctrination of thinking of thinking that we have to get permission from someone else to do what we do, and also as we come out of or back into or going back into realizing and recognizing that everything is natural. See, so because it's only through words, just as he gave that example of Dr. Sabi, it's only through words that they use that is jurisdictional, inferior to nature, that we oftentimes agree with due to our lack of knowledge that we ought not be agreeing with that, And this is where we're coming out of. So now the thing is, getting in the trenches with this, the thing is that in order to actually really stand on that, we all have to come out of our mental slavery where it is in regards to it. And all that is that indoctrination, all these years of thinking we need to ask them because we think they're government without knowing what government really is, And so you realizing, look, I can do this, but it's just a matter of just coming out of the mental slavery. That's why Prophet Noble Drew said, I've come to take you out of your mental slavery. And that's for all of us. And it takes time to if there's such a word of unindoctrinate yourself. And really, that's what I call and know is the exorcism, to get all that stuff out so that you can have the baptism with the waters of knowledge. That's really all that I think all of this is about right now, because the information is all around us. It's there. We just want to walk into it, but we have to cleanse the mind. first from thinking that there's some repercussion, because that's really where your question is, that there will be some repercussion from them. Well, they're always going to want to try to steal, take, suck the blood, literally. That's the bloodline, that's the birthright. So we already know that. What repels it is the light of truth standing in the right light, that we're natural beings, so therefore we deal with natural law. And not throwing that out just because they have, trying to make it a disposable society. That's not working. It's over, as a matter of fact. So you're just coming out of that, and you'll walk right into it as soon as you are finished freeing your mind from that indoctrination. Islam.
No doubt. Okay, peace. I understand the response, definitely. and that's kind of my understanding for sure, as to how to correct the mental state, you know what I'm saying? So in order to handle this, what I'm looking at is the situation. So definitely I appreciate, the answer.
Let me ask you this too. As far as permission, have you ever looked at, it's on the Writ of Freedom page. It's called the, what does it call it? Oh, shucks. What's that thing they want you to have? A permit? Well, we don't really get a permit. What's it called?
The permit?
Yeah, the permit. We call it the permit, but it's really not a permit. But read that. It's really dealing with the permit that had to do with building. But the essence of it is, the reason it's really there is to study it for the essence of you don't need permission from them. So read that, right. And I tell people who want to start businesses and stuff, or get busy, because it really ain't starting businesses. It's just being busy about your busyness. That's what business is, busyness, and to read it so they can understand, know what they. I would like to say what they should say or what they ought not say. Read it and gain that understanding, and it will help you a little bit more. At the same time, use integrity in whatever it is you are doing, and I trust that you do and you will, and stick with nature and good intent. All right?
And you know what? You can also look at the rights of indigenous people. Make sure you check that out.
Thank you. I was just about to say that. Real fast.
Yes. That's important about medicines. Have you looked at the rights of indigenous people where we have the right to use our own medicines and stuff? Have you seen that yet?
Yeah, definitely in the right to self-determination, etc.
Yes. That's just affirmative support stuff that you can feed into yourself so that whatever comes your way, you can repel it with that knowledge, because that's all that's really going to repel it is knowledge.
Okay, no doubt. Definitely understood.
All right, peace and love.
Thank you, family. Peace.
All right. All righty. Let's see. All right, caller 111. Caller 111. 111. You're live on the air. Please take
Skypers.
Yes, sir.
Islam.
Yes, sir. Islam, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes. No.
I'm actually the person who sent Cujo the messages. My name is Ross L. Bay. Excuse me. And it was all a bit humbling, because I've really changed my life around, and I've been doing a lot of positive things with myself, and I'm trying to be there for my children, and I'm having a hard time accessing them, and I want to be able to share with them the knowledge and the truth of who they are and where they come from, and it's like I'm on an island, because the mothers, everyone that I've formed relationships with, being that I've come out of the world and I've brought myself in a high spiritual position, everyone thinks I've lost my mind, honestly. So it's tough to access my sons and my daughters because, you know, I'm not who I was, and I'm someone new and improved, and it's just it was humbling. It's all humbling because I heard y'all say that the mothers are the mothers and the fathers. I've been raising 4 of my other children on my own 10 years, and like I used to be on the streets. I used to be hardcore and all that, and I cleaned up, and like I had a lot of children in that time, and like I know I'm doing things with my life that are productive and beneficial for a child to see, and like to not be able to share that with my sons and my daughters, it's a bit much.
It's hurtful.
It's tough.
It's hurtful.
It's tough.
Right? It's
really,
hurtful. It's hurtful.
Really
now, you said you cleaned up, right? Now, think about this for a second. The mother, you also mentioned there was a mother who was on drugs and she cleaned up. So now think about how the way you feel right now, think about how she may be feeling the same way and wanting to have her child as well. And now it appears to be a battle. So that's number one. Think about that for a second. Putting what you just shared with us and giving it to her when she cleaned up just like you cleaned up. She wants her child too. So this is why it is hurtful. And because of the distance and whatever was going on that you were doing that you shouldn't have been doing and she was doing that she shouldn't have been doing and you cleaned up and she cleaned up. Now she wants her child. She wants her child. It hurts her just as much as it probably hurts you. So now it becomes a battle between the two of you. So here's the best advice, and I think Ms. said it, especially after you saying what you just said. If you and her could get together and negotiate this situation, navigate this situation, that would be the beauty of it.
Well, that would be the idealistic thing to do.
Yep, because she's got the same feeling you got, that you cleaned up and you want this. She cleaned up and she wants her child too. But both of y'all are at some odds, and so there you go. So to me, to us, looking at it, it damn sure ain't nothing that the court should be decided at law. Okay? It should be something you and her, especially since both of you were in the same situation and cleaned up or whatever, should be able to appreciate with each other for the sake of the child and work it out. And nobody can do that for you but you and her. Think about that, and then just give it some more thought.
Yeah, bro.
Sounds real good.
All right.
For sure.
But I just don't see how it would be attainable.
Yeah, I know.
It's just not going to be that easy because she got clean. She started taking me to court. I had been clean, but I was ingesting herbs for medicinal reasons, and then I stopped when she started taking me to court, but there was still some in my system. So based on them grounds, just a small amount of herb in my system, she was able.
Yeah, but who tested that herb? But see, here's the deal.
Yeah, it's a whole nother.
Listen to this. They tested you, meaning that you had to go under their jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And all due respect, what you're saying correlates back to the last call. I'm not trying to ask you to put on the record what type of substance you were using, but is it all right if I ask you, was it marijuana?
Yes, it was.
It was deeper. Oh, there you go. So now, that alone doesn't disqualify parenthood. I'm not suggesting that parents do that. Please keep me clear. What I'm saying is indigenous people, as Anae was just telling the brother to reference the rights of indigenous people, you have the right as indigenous Aboriginal people to your medicinal herbs and remedies. So that right alone should not disqualify parenthood on its own merit. I'm just saying it's Aboriginal indigenous people, not that alone.
Well, with that situation, with that particular mother and my son Jali, she will not allow me to see him unless I take her back to court and get first without getting. But first, I'm supposed to get a drug and alcohol evaluation, and I plan on doing that. This is the only way she's going to let me get access to that particular child. So I have to go back to court with her. There's no other way around it. I've already asked her if I could just get at the board, get at my son without going through all that, but she's not having it because she goes to the room. She's an NA room goon is what I call them, and I know that's kind of mean, but that's what she does. That's how she stays clean off heroin. Now me, I stopped ingesting the herb. I mean, at one time I was hard on the harder drugs, but that was back when after I had a brother killed, I had one of my sons killed, and I was on the streets for years and years. But then when I was having all these babies, they started going into foster care. That's when I had to clean up, and I got 3 of my sons out of foster care, and I've had them since. But I would ingest the herbs to keep me, at a level, a calm level. And then after a while, I didn't even need that no more. I stopped eating meat. I stopped smoking cigarettes. I stopped eating hybrid vegetables and fruits. So I'm really peaking with my growth. And I have to take her back to court. And with my daughter and her grandmother, my daughter's mother's still on the block. She's still doing the drugs, the hard drugs. She don't even mess with no herbs. It's all about the harder crack and heroin, all that alcohol. And her grandmother won't even let me talk to my daughter, let alone see her. She'll let me mail her gifts, and then I can't get out my daughter because her grandmother, she despises people that are so-called black. And her own daughter told me that, so I have to take her to court. And then I have my other.
So what though? You know what though?
Nationality.
It's not a nation on earth today that is going to recognize anybody that's calling themselves black. You might be able to open up a whole. Hold up. Check the wisdom. You might be able to open up doors you think are locked and closed right now, simply by just having a conversation with her mother about nationality. It might just be that conversation where she see you in a different light. If you let her know, listen, I'm not black. This is who I am. I am a Moor, and this is the distinguishment. Because see, and I'm not judging your situation, my brother, but what I'm saying is some of the matrices that are here today, I mean, and I'm talking about the older school, not to call them old, but I'm talking about that classic class that, you know what I mean, of true and living matrices today that are in the proper age range of grandmothers. They have a little bit more of a past integrity that they carry today. So one of the things that we lack today, where a lot of relationships go wrong at, is to see the product from the womb. We like the form, we like the shape. We want to do it all with that. But you got to recognize she comes from a source and has a family structure. So something simple as a conversation with her mother might be the keystone or the cornerstone for the foundation. I mean, with her mother about nationality, it could be the cornerstone and foundation to change her perception about you. You know what I mean? Because let me just ask you this. Since she said her mother doesn't like black people, that was the words, right? Have you ever had a conversation with her mother about nationality and birthright?
You know what? I have not, but just in my heart right now, I know that her mother, with her mother, the mother's mother, she don't want to hear that. She ain't going to want to hear no parts of that. She don't even want to know about that.
You never know until you try to stimulate it. You know what I mean?
I'm going to give it.
She might think you one of those niggers, like Negroes type mentality people.
And she
need to talk to her. But hold on. Because she do. But check this out, though. When you come into somebody else's life, you know what I mean? Like, you'll have a situation where it doesn't matter if it's bad or good. You're going to have to be correlative for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? And her mother, her source of creation, is still alive. You know what I mean? She means something. You know what I mean? Because her manifestation caused the manifestation thanks to your contribution as well. So you have to respect the lineal and the ascendant line. It might be something simple, my brother, as just having a conversation with her mom and her. You know what I mean? On just on the humbug or on the humble about nationality and birthrights, where she sees you in a totally different light. Because as you said, right now she see you as some black guy that she don't like. A lot of people don't like black people. You know what I'm saying? And the reason why is because it's not that they don't like Moors. It's just nobody likes uncivilized beings. I know some Moors who don't like black people, or Moors that are Moors, because there's no such thing as Negro, black, and colored. So first of all, y'all already building on an artificial foundation. You need to make that real. You know what I'm saying? And show some respect. You know what I mean? Show some respect to her lineal line, and the only reason I'm saying that is because from that lineage, you have what you're calling today your child, your sons, your daughters. How you're not going to talk about who you are, right? Because I remember being said by an elder, you know what I mean? Back in the days, it wasn't no such thing as, you know, oh, I like this sister, or this sister like this brother, and, you know, the shoes is fly, the gear is fly. Like, no, you had to present dowry. You had to have a conversation with the matrilineal family and clan before you can even consider laying down. You know what I mean? Or going into the act of fruition. So shit is ass backwards today. You might need to reverse some shit that was missed. Excuse my explanation, but I'm just saying, or my expression. But I don't apologize, because we got to get back to just the order of things. She's probably from a class that was doing that, and she don't see that in the youth no more. And I'm not to say that you're young or you're old, but it just might be something you need to bring to an elder's attention. Like, listen, this is who I am, and this is what my intentions are. You know what I'm saying? As far as your daughter is concerned, because you birthed that 9 months or whatever the process was, just show some respect. You know what I mean? That's it. Because it's not a mother today, I don't care who you are, that wants to know that their child, whether it's male or female, is somewhere with some stranger that they don't know. At least give them the respect to introduce yourself or introduce your mate or whatever. You know what I mean? So they can be like, okay, at least I know what my product, because, yo, listen, fam, like Anna E said earlier, from the womb to the tomb, mothers are going to feel like your existence is their creation, and it's a fact. It's just a fact. We're not daughters, so we can't relate necessarily to a mother-daughter relationship, but we can relate to the fact that whatever a mother produces, you know, not just externally, but when you go to the roots of existence, you know what I mean? Like, she produced that internally in herself. She can only naturally want the best. You gotta show respect to the elders when you try to take the hands of their daughters. This is just the natural succession of things that's missing today, because everybody want to be thoughts. Everybody want to be fishing poles and just, you know, I put my pole in any water. That the elders are not feeling that. You know what I'm saying? They're not, especially when it comes to their daughters. So right now, being as though you never had a conversation about nationality and birthrights, and she gave birth, and thus the child has birthrights, she might be looking at you like you're slacking, and you might just need to let her know you're not. You know what I'm saying? And that could be the distinguishing factor of the whole relationship from top to bottom, because it's not just, you know, you pass the gratification of the lower self. You already did that, and she bared seed. She produced fruit. Her mother is proud of that. You know what I'm saying? But you're going to have to make her proud of you by stepping up and saying, this is who I am, this is what I am, and these are my intentions. Because a lot of things that are left out today is what are people's intentions. You know what I mean? So step that, like, you know, talk to her mother. You know what I'm saying?
That was wonderful. That is actually wonderful. Wonderful. Well done. There should be like an applause for that because you laid that out really well, particularly when we go back to, as you're saying, how it used to be with the order and respect, because you're right. Every mother's child, so the mother of these babies that you're talking about, they have a mother, and that grandma, and exactly what he said is exactly what it is, and it's something. It just hit me that this is what we're missing because we have allowed a different type of indoctrination, a mental mishap in slavery, and losing these principles. We not you per se, all of us. This is what has occurred. But there's nothing else to add to that, man. Then that was beautiful. That's how it goes. So maybe you're right. I like that idea. Go talk to them. Go talk to them and see what it gets you. See what that does. It's worth it. Rather than the tension and the fighting, because the pain's gonna be there anyway. You may as well just go ahead and apply that and see whether they can be navigated. Islam.
Mm-hmm. Islam.
Islam. We got another caller that wants to comment on this particular subject. I'm gonna unmute him. Caller 215-554. You're live on the air. Islam, brother Jerry.
Islam. My appellation, King Bay, and from the corporate charter. I just got to say, what's up, man? I got to say, first of all, congratulations to Anna E., Sister Roz, and Brother Miz. Man, y'all need to get like a Congressional Medal of Honor for what you're doing on this forum. I'm trying to tell you, like, giving the brother love, like, I just want to, like, dovetail on what Brother Miz said. He said it so eloquently and so succinctly, perfectly. But in addition to that, brother, I want to say to you in love that you're a king, you're a ruler, you're a scientist, you're a God in the earth. And what I'm going to suggest that you begin to do, you've been fighting a battle in the physical. But I want you to contemplate to begin to fight this battle in the spiritual.
Yes.
Sit down and envision. First of all, go into your meditation. I don't know if you make salat. Like, I make salat every day like a Sunni on my face. In your meditation zone, your prayer zone, begin to enfold yourself in a beam of the Creator's love. And just let the love emanate, and then begin to envision yourself sitting down with those children, breaking the bread of life, sharing knowledge, love, instruction, taking time, your girls and your boys. Begin to put those mothers in that same circle of light, because what Brother Miz said was so on point when he said, if you've never had that conversation, brother, it's like our world has this disease and we are the cure. Like, you are their cure and they don't even know it. You may be their cure. You may turn around a whole family just by how you handle the situation. So because you are a scientist, because you are a king, because you are God in the earth, I heard you when you were speaking. I felt your heart, brother. I felt the passion that you had about these people and what they never going to do. And you were speaking, but you were speaking with power and passion, and that makes the thing that you speak solidify. And it's almost like that passion that you have for that situation. It's an emotionally charged situation, but it's almost like that passion and all that vigor is sustaining that. I'm going to say back away from that and redirect that, because you kept saying she's not going to want to hear it. She's not going to listen. They don't want to hear it. Begin to realize that when you go into the spirit realm as a God that you are, as a scientist that you are, and just begin to meditate and fold them in the light of the Creator's love. I'm going to tell you something, brother. You have more power than you realize. These the young lady and her mother, brother, they will call you one day out of the blue, and you know what they're going to tell you? I don't know why I'm doing this, but I know you don't want to see your kids. Listen to me, bro. I'm giving you some real ish right now, for real, for real.
Oh, I'm listening.
They're going to say, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I know you've been wanting to see your kids. Look, let's go ahead. I don't even know what's going on right now, but something's telling me, and that'll be that window, that door that Ms. talked about, where y'all can have that conversation, and you can keep the European and its bogus courts of your life, and all that jurisdiction, all of that crap that it invites, you can keep that right out of your life. You can stay in the private, and you have a private conversation with the young lady and her mother if necessary. And I'm telling you, you'll be surprised when you begin to fight this battle in the spirit. You'll see more results than if you had 10 warriors fighting on your behalf in the physical. And just doing everything that Sister Anna Eve said and Sister Roz and Brother Miz, but combining it with that spirit, like your mind, brother, your mind is powerful. You have it inside of you to create whatever it is that you need and want. So begin to create that picture in your mind and just meditate on that. Forget about what they won't do. Stop seeing that. Because when you were talking, I could see the picture you were painting with your mind, brother, because it was so much passion. I could see it like live in 3D. Begin to paint a different picture in your mind. And this might sound crazy, but I'm telling you, I've been working with kids a long time, and sometimes when you're dealing with a difficulty like this, an emotionally charged situation like this, you got to circumvent the physical and go right around in the spiritual and handle it in the spiritual and just watch the Creator do what He does. And with that, I say peace in Islam.
Peace, man.
Okay. Another well said.
Well said. But keep in mind, one thing to keep in mind is that.
And go right around in the spiritual and handle it in the spiritual and just watch the Creator do what He does. And with that, I say peace in Islam.
Peace, man.
Okay. Another well said.
Well said. But keep in mind, one thing to keep in mind is that the essence of what the brother just said was right and exact. But when you're talking about your children, never call them kids, because that's true, back to Billy Code. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to stop referring to the children as animals that they're not. Just like we got to start respecting the women and stop calling them, the beat words. Like calling the children kids is damn near synonymous with calling women bitches. Excuse my expression, but get my point. You know what I'm saying? The reason why it's offensive is because the way it's used is you're referring to a goddess or the god, the original being on the planet Earth in your words, reducing them to animals. Not that they don't have, like we all have certain characteristics. Every living thing is connected to every other living thing. But we have to use those words, you know what I mean? Whereas we're uplifting our existence and putting that vibration on it. So don't look at them as kids no more. Look at them as your children or children, period. And then ameliorate from that. That's just what it is. It's your thoughts. Like the brother said, everything, every blockage you can come up with is in your own head. Because before you give it a chance, you can't say it won't work. Because you didn't give it a chance. That's just it. So she might that might be all she needs to hear is you affirm for the record to her who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? For all she knows, you could be a Negro, black color, you know what I mean, from South Africa, somewhere. She don't know you if you don't declare and let it be made known your nationality and that you're not a part of that niggerdom that is out there. You know what I mean? They'll look at you a whole different type of way. You know what I mean? So, yeah, for sure. I'm not going to go back in on that, but I concur and yield the floor. Islam.
And thank you for correcting me on that, brother. Thank you. That was a slip.
No problem, but thank you for adding on, because even in you expressing your thought, we still get the anamnesis or remembrance of the lessons. So the other one was great. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Indeed. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you, Brother Jerry, for that. Uh-oh. Wait now. Brother Jerry, thank you so much for your call.
Peace, sis. Thank you.
And Brother Ross, thank you so much for your call. I trust that the information that was given will be helpful for you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that is our last caller, and that concludes our broadcast. Make sure and catch us tomorrow for Morris Heritage and History School near Harlem Corporation at Northwestern Maxim. Doors open at 6 o'clock. Class begins at 7:30. We will be there live in the flesh. And you
Live and in color.
That's right.
Oh, no,
live
not color.
And you can also listen in to the broadcast. We'll be broadcasting the class. Thank you so much for joining us, and we shall see you tomorrow. Peace and love to all.
Islam.
Islam.
Peace and love. One.
Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the bibliothelic that you call the Bible says he shall fool even the most elite. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. The gods are back, the Moors are strapped. We waking up and we want our land back. Running off, that's a trap. You know them gods don't like that. Waking up from a nap, like where the hell my crown at? Take a step back, like I know this bitch ain't bite back. It's kinda crazy how this karma it strikes back. We enslaved Islam, so they slaved us right back. We called them niggas, then they niggered us right back. We brought them to light, but they ain't bring that right back. If I was lazy, dirty dancing with the baby, then just maybe won't revolt like Haiti. I too smart, love a poor Marcus Garvey, your ass. No, but you are leading, God body the man. Now I ain't gotta be bad, and you ain't gotta be mad, but the planet is heating up, so the first I'll be last. I got that melanin that's better than anything you ever medicine. We at your front door, wonder why you never let us in. Oh, I get it, you never wanted to put some credits in. Well, just forget it, cause I don't know if you can edit sin. We've been enlightened long before Thomas Edison. Skeletons to prove that you wasn't even relevant. In the Caucasus Mountains, cause the sun was your deficit. Captain Caveman with the plan of the Jesuits. Check my bloodline, but in time I bring the evidence. Self-governing body, so I don't need no president. Democrat, Republican, donkey versus elephant. I studied in law, so I ain't down with none of that. I self-law and master, so I'm running that. This Molotov cocktail burns faster, so I like the match. Despite the fact that ain't even what I'm mad at. I spit the truth, so here's the roof, so you can yeah that. My skin is brown and here's the proof, but you ain't hearing that. Dead in the eyes of the law, that's why they call you black. Naming all caps when you fall, that's why I strike back. And strike that from the record ab initio. You gon' need more than some pressure, I got a vicious flow. I can take the road to the high, or I can hit them low. Try to calcify my third eye, oh you gon' have to go. Chemtrails all over the sky, and you don't wanna know. Doggone inside of my tribe, they coming no more.
If you believe that your history started on a slave boat, I can guarantee you that's where it ended too. That's what I'm saying. Then after saying that, and so don't believe me, go back and do some studies past the 1700s, and I'll guarantee you, sure as you're sitting there listening or wherever you are, watching, listening, you will find nothing but the word more. And that's another thing. Because we weren't called black. The description, maybe, black or more or whatever, but that's it. Know the difference between a description and an actual, person, place, or thing, noun. I mean, really.
It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows it to those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. It's the miseducation of the Negro. Everybody knows except those who need to know. It's the miseducation of the Negro. When we rise from the dead, they call us Pharaoh. From the pyramids to the project, the beginning is the part they want you to forget. Implant your memory with that noose around your neck. It's the King Alpha plan and it's set in full effect. The butler, the help, in 12 years a slave. Django and Selma, they get them accolades. They made a movie called Exodus about the gods and kings with an all-white cast from Egypt. Now that's the same. They ain't never seen no movie about no European slaves. We were traveling machines when they was living in caves. We had to civilize them, show them how to behave. In fact, we brought them light and taught them how to bathe. This is trading places with stolen identity. We agreed to be educated by our own enemy. Reverse psychology, I'ma need a lobotomy. An exorcism just to get this shit about me. Roz Mariah, Anna Eve, Miss Raheem, Todd Tariq, Cujo from Cannonland, listen to them speak. I done learned from the best, I don't need no DNA test. The nations in my womb has given from the breast. The empire's back, so you know what's next. The Moors are waking up, now you must confess. Yes, yes. The Moors are waking up, now you must confess.
Birthright theft. The whole deal was, where's my land that, for them? The whole deal was like, this is really quote-unquote promised land. This is really the quote-unquote heart of civilization. This is really what you might call Northwest Africa. That's what, and I say that to people so they can stop saying I'm going back to Africa and understand that they're in it. It's the Garden of Eden.
That's what they had in Columbus's journal that they arrived
Absolutely.
in Eden.
So what has happened is absolute lies. That's right. And the land of milk and honey is another terminology. So these things are important because as you're doing studies, and if it says the land of milk and honey, you need to know they're talking about the North American continent. If you don't know that, then you miss it. And that's part of our problem. That part of our problem is the miseducation. We have been lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to, lied to.